So live stream is preparing. Another 4-5 seconds. Yeah, we're live.
Should we wait for 30 seconds or we should start?
We're live. We can start now.
Okay. Welcome, everyone.
1 second.
Thank you for taking out. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Saturday afternoon. It's a very interactive session that we look forward today. We have three speakers here. Mr. Hardeep Sachdeva. He is a senior partner in AZB & Partners. Mr. Jeevan Panda, who's a partner in Khaitan & Co. Mr. Deepak Kumar Thakur, who's a partner in Luthra and LLN Partners. So this is a webinar that we are organizing in collaboration with LawSikho, who's a leading online education partner. I'll just give a brief introduction of the speakers today. Mr. Sachdeva comes with more than 25-year experience. He advises India and multinational clients and is constantly rated as India's leading corporate and M&A lawyer. The other partner, Mr. Jeevan Panda, is a partner in Khaitan and comes with a 12-year of experience in advising on complex commercial, civil dispute, and arbitration matters in domestic and international matters. Mr. Deepak Kumar Thakur is a partner in LNL Partners with a vast experience of 13 years, a specialization in the project, energy, and infrastructure practice. With this, I request my colleague Abhyuday from LawSikho to take it forward.
Hang on, I will just change the setting. Yeah, I've muted everyone and we will just unmute the speakers right now. So now whoever joins will not be able to unmute themselves. So Hardeep sir, I've unmuted you. Jeevan sir, I've unmuted you. Deepak sir, I'm just unmuting you, right? Okay. And Gaurav, I'll unmute you 1 minute. Yeah. So Gaurav, I begin. Gaurav, you want to say something?
So I have already given the introduction.
Okay. I'll take over. So thank you everybody for joining us. I'm quite excited to have three senior partners from three different firms, all willing to talk about the impact of COVID on the legal industry. So, I'm going to invite you all to speak about for a couple of minutes about your practice and what you'd like to say about how it has changed in the past two months. And I'm going to start with Hardeep sir and then ask Jeevan sir and then ask Deepak Kumar Panda sir. And then we will have a question answer. Like then I have a series of questions planned for each of you. So I will ask the question and all of us can sort of have that conversation. In the meanwhile, the chat window is on. So anyone from the audience, if you have a question, you can ask, but we will take the questions as and when appropriate. And it'll be great if you all can right now let us know, all the participants, whether you all are students or you all are practitioners or you are working in law firms. And we'd also love to have comments from you on the YouTube chat link, which has been provided to you. That will give the video a lot of traction. More people will be able to watch it. It will reach more people. Okay. So Hardeep sir, it'll be great to know a little about how the past 2 months have been. And then we'll go into more specifics, but a little about your practice and how the past 2 months have been for you.
Okay, I'm a corporate lawyer. I'm a senior partner at AZB & Partners. And it's been over 25 years that I qualified law, and also it's been over 25 years that I've been part of this firm here. AZB & Partners is a corporate law firm, which is, we call ourselves a full service law firm, which is, primarily on the corporate M&A, transactional, and of course, tax, competition, etc., etc. And what's happening in the last 2 months? Or what's happening with us corporate lawyers in the last 2 months? I must say that we have been more busy than what we used to be earlier. Not busy, but busier, if I must say. Although the working style for all of us corporate lawyers has changed that dramatically. We are not meeting our clients, not meeting our peers, not meeting our teams under one roof, or we are not meeting them physically, but we are hooked on to these video calls through Zoom or WebEx or various other means to seamlessly work with our clients, seamlessly work together, seamlessly keep answering the questions which have been asked us. Now, there is a new norm which we have learned, for which we had a mental block earlier, at least in the law fraternity, which is work from home. A work from home, at least for law firms or corporate lawyers, was meant to be somebody who does not want to be in the active practice, but is looking for some sort of a part-time job. But that mind block, I must say, has completely gone. The life has changed, and we've seen as to how well we can work even when we are stationed at our home here through the video calls, audio calls. And I must say that when this thing started 2 months ago, we thought to ourselves that we will have far more time in our hand, far more than what we used to have in office, because we will save the travel time. We don't need to go to office and set up ourselves, unset yourselves, come back to home, or we don't need to go to client location. Therefore, we'll have far more time to ourselves when we start working here. But that did not happen, because that far more time got consumed very quickly by us spending more time in detail on video calls for the clients, and most of our colleagues spending some time for doing their housekeeping work as well. So yeah, Abhyuday, just to answer you quickly, of course, life has changed, but it has kept us very busy.
Thank you, sir. That was a great overview. And a lot of startups and businesses have felt that people working from home are working very, very productively. And okay, sir, over to Deepak Kumar Thakur, sir, and then Jeevan Panda, sir, about how the past 2 months have been and how things have changed. Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon to one and all. And just to give you a brief intro, I think Gaurav has already given that. I am with Aligned Partners and specializing in projects, energy, and infrastructure practice area, looking after the entire requirements of this field in Mumbai office through Mumbai office. Well, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Puri, it's the same experience, I think across all the law firms, that people had thought at the beginning of this lockdown period that life will be little bit relaxed and we will have more time to ourselves and we can spend more time with family. But it has not happened like that at all. And on the contrary, life has become more busier than it was earlier. And we are just not getting time for even for ourselves also throughout the day. The calls, the Zoom calls, the VCs, all of this just keeps us occupied all throughout the day. And with the continuing working from home, we don't even realize that there is a Saturday or there is a Sunday. All days are same. Earlier, there used to be certain understanding with respect to that. Okay, weekdays are weekdays and weekends are weekends. At least for partners, there was certain differentiation. But these days now, that differentiation has also gone by. So to put it in short, I can say life has not remained same. The new normal that after Corona is going to be like this, at least for some time, till the time at least medications are not out in public.
Thank you, sir. Actually, earlier people used to have like half day on Saturday or 5-day week, 6-day week, 5.5-day week. People used to say, I work for 3 hours on a Sunday. Now it is like, I took a 1.5 hour break.
Absolutely. So now there are no weekends. It's all days are working days and just same all throughout.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. So it's great to know that we all have a lot of work. So if there's a lot of work in the legal industry, that's going
to just to put it slightly different. It's not only now that all work and no other thing. It's not these days. What has happened because of this lockdown? A lot of time and effort is going in activities like this that we are having in present, in imparting knowledge to others and students, and then also to our clients. So a lot of time is not. So whole time is just not dedicated to work, as in billable work, what we see in the law firm culture. It's not only billable work, it's dedicated to other work also, and which is, I think, which earlier we didn't used to take so seriously, or rather by one way or the other way, we used to just put it on the side burner. But I think we all of us are taking out time and doing our duties towards the society by imparting whatever we can contribute, a certain knowledge to the youngsters.
Yes, true. Thank you for taking out time for these activities, sir. That is truly useful. So I had a question. You're in Mumbai.
That's correct.
Which location in Mumbai is this?
This is not Mumbai. So, okay, present location is not Mumbai. I can say that.
Okay.
Present location is not Mumbai.
Okay. Deepak, sir. Sorry, Jeevan, sir.
Thank you, Abudai.
Yeah.
Thanks, Abudai. Thanks, Gaurav, for the introduction. Just to introduce myself, I am Jeevan Panda. I graduated from Hidayatullah National Law University. I was there in the first batch, passed out in 2008. I joined Khaitan since 2008, started off with the Calcutta office of the firm, worked there for 7 years, practiced extensively in the original side of the Calcutta High Court. 2015, I decided to move on, relocated to Delhi office of the firm. And all throughout, since the last 12 years, little above 12 years, I have been with the firm, Khaitan. And it has been a great journey, great experience. I specialize in contractual disputes, arbitration. That is where my heart goes to. And I'm also part of the employment, labor and benefits practice group based out of the New Delhi office of the firm. So in terms of practice areas, like I agree with my colleagues, my co-panelists, and in fact, things have not been normal. People call it a black swan event and unforeseen circumstances that we are in. The lockdown, it has never been experienced, and maybe possibly we'll never experience it in the future. But having said that, yes, as a disputes lawyer, it's an exception to the general rule. We disputes lawyer, we thrive in our ecosystem where we get to interact with our members of the bar and the bench, having a cold coffee in the High Court canteen. Those are the things which we are definitely missing. But having said that, as rightly mentioned, technology is the way forward, and like adversity or necessity, as we call it, is the mother of all invention. And in the present form, it's the adoption of technology that we are looking at. And but the courts have been very receptive about adopting technology as a mode for dispensation of justice, which is a great step forward. Of course, there are challenges. As we all know that only urgent matters are primarily being taken up both by the high courts and the Supreme Courts. Having said that, there are challenges, both technologically as well as access to the technology, in terms of when we are not talking only about the High Court or the Supreme Court level, we are talking about the vast majority of cases which are pending at the district court levels. So are we up for that challenge? So that is the question, that is the moot question which we need to answer today. And rightly so, the Bar Council of India has written to the Honorable Chief Justice recently that 90% of our lawyers are not technologically advanced. Lawyers, as also the judges, they are not advanced enough to deal with technology, and even e-filing or scanning of a document is a far-fetched dream. So given those circumstances, we have to take a cautious approach, but slowly but steadily, the move is towards technology, and that is the way forward. In terms of working at the firm level, yes, we have had access to all these technologies. Of course, particularly the disputes team, we have not been very actively pursuing it. The corporate team and the other teams have always been using it quite efficiently and effectively. But yes, we have been more in the traditional or the obsolete form of practice, dealing with paper. And even though we had e-courts in Delhi High Court and all, but in spite of that, we were slow in adopting it, but now we have been compelled to. And the sooner we learn, it is better for us.
Thank you so much, Jeevan, sir, for that. Okay, so after this introduction, now we're going to go a little into the technicals for each practice area so that all of you who are participating in this webinar get a sense of how the work has changed. And and after that part, after discussing the technicals, we move on back to the aspect on hiring and how is it like to work remotely. At LawSikho as well, actually from 2015 onwards, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say this, that from 2015 onwards, basically a core part of our working model had work from home as a mainstream. So 50% to 60% of our people were already working from home. So when the lockdown happened, the transition was a lot easier. There were a few people in office who could move to a guest house where we were all staying, and the remaining people were directly looped onto the network for work from home. And we got an open source project management tool. It's like a Kanban board. It's like a open source tool of Trello, which we use to coordinate. So that's something I thought to just share. And we are all seeing how work from home is becoming actually mainstream as part of work culture now. Okay, sir. So now I'm going to ask questions about your practice area and how things are changing there specifically. And I'll go one by one, and then we'll sort of have common questions which all of us can participate in. So my first question is to Hardeep, sir, about the areas you practice in, like corporate, M&A, due diligence, all these works that happen in the corporate team of a law firm. How are these getting impacted? Is there a shift in the practice area? So there could be like deals, contracts, advisory work, investments, JVs. What are the changes that are happening here since the past 2 months, and what do you see going forward also in the next 6 months to 1 year?
Yeah, whether you to allow me to share the screen as well. Huh?
Yes, sir, you can.
Yeah. Okay. So no, very valid question, of course. But I must start by saying that there is another question with which this entire world is grappling with right now. And everyone wants an answer to that question, but people will be asking that question in a different variation. That question is, when will this get over?
Yes.
You ask everybody on the screen here, they all have this question in their mind, कि भैया ये चीज खत्म कब होएगी? अब लॉकडाउन खत्म कब होगा? और your कोरोना वायरस खत्म कब होगा? और सिस्टम वापस कब आएगा? This is the question that we all are struggling to find an answer on. And unfortunately, none of us are medical expert here, so we don't know what will happen to coronavirus, how soon the medicine will be discovered or vaccination will be discovered. But presuming, after seeing the world here, presuming we have a short run of this lockdown and short run of this coronavirus, what will we see? So as we know very well, we are in the unprecedented time where not just the human life, but even the businesses world over are getting hugely impacted to the extent that lots of industries and sectors and businesses in those industries and sectors are getting wiped out. Why wiped out? Because they could not handle this 2.5 months, 3 months, 2 months shutdown for their businesses. They could not handle because of the loan servicing, because of the human resource servicing, because of the existing expenses, etc., etc. I don't know how many of you have read that one of the biggest retailer, JC Crew, has filed for insolvency in UK, and there are a lot more to come. I just want to share.
Are you able to share it?
No, it says disabled.
1 second.
If you, I want to share.
Enable now. Enable now.
Enable now. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It'll just take 1 second. This was the headline of Financial Times of yesterday. And these are the headlines of all financial reporting world over. It says Britain on the brink of worst recession since Great Frost of 1709. This is the Bank of England, which is warning it. So where do we stand today?
Basically,
we stand
in the 300 years.
at the brink. Yeah, we are seeing this back. We are seeing this happening again here, where we will see a worst ever recession in the business. No, but that again, in my view, depends. Answer to the first question, which is for how long this whole thing lasts. If it is not lasting too long, means if we are seeing a solution in next short run. Now, what we are seeing today, we are seeing a gradual opening of economy, gradual opening of businesses. Today as well, in our country, we are seeing as to how, barring red zone, in other 2 zones, the offices are opening, the shops are opening in limited sense here, the factories are restarting. So we're seeing a gradual opening of the economies here. Once we see gradual opening of the economies here, we will see business coming back on its feet, on its legs, and we'll have this engine coming and running once again here. It'll take time. It may not happen immediately. It may take far longer than what we're expecting here, but it'll restart. But once that will restart, are we seeing that all the normal transactions, M&A will come back? Answer is no, that will not happen that quickly. What are we seeing as corporate lawyers? We are seeing, as part of the transactional work and what we've seen in the past as well, we are seeing distressed sales happening here. Distressed sales, I can see the whole thing freezing. Yeah, can you hear me?
Sir, there's an internet issue from your end, I think. Yeah, we can hear you, sir, but we can't see you. If this persists, sir, you can switch off video. But right now, we can just pause for 5 seconds.
So what we're seeing is distressed sale happening here.
Yes.
Distressed sale in the sense that there will still be some deals happening in the economy, which deals will happen more where people will look for opportunities in the time of crisis, where they may not pay the best value, but yes, there'll be a buyer which is buying in distress of the same business.
So, I'm not able to see the screen. I try to stop video, but it's not happening.
I can't understand what happened here. Yeah.
Okay, so we can hear your audio, so you can continue to speak.
Okay, I'll continue with my audio.
Yes.
And what we're seeing more opportunities, we will see refinancing of the existing debts here, because these debts are mounting on the on the companies, on the corporates. We will find more opportunities as corporate lawyers to see more transaction happening in the refinancing of the existing debts of the companies here. We will see more joint ventures in the country here. But why joint ventures in this time? Joint ventures because the existing entrepreneurs and promoters will find it difficult to run their business by themselves for want of capital, for want of various factors. Therefore, they will seek the hand of a larger corporate or somebody else to run their businesses. What we will see more, we will see restructuring of businesses. So we'll see that everybody who's diversified into different businesses will try and consolidate into single or two businesses here. So there are opportunities in this time as well, where we will see that work will be there for corporate lawyers, but yes, in a different sense here. It may not be the normal, usual, happy, good value transactions. There will be different set of deals and transactions that will be happening here. Now, as we know, there is silver lining in every black cloud. What we will see here, what more sectors that will come up, we are seeing, because we all are locked down into our houses, we all have now very high dependency on the digital world. We all are using the digital world and online media to do whatever we want to do. And therefore, what we will see is the new avenues of businesses growing more. Now, those new avenues will be anything which is far more connected digitally to customer and the business here. Now, starting with...
So is it possible, sir, sorry to interrupt, is it possible to switch on your video? Is it on from your end?
I don't know.
Okay, so at the bottom, it will show you. It will say stop video, start video. There will be an icon bottom left. Because your internet may have resumed, because your voice at least is very clear. Otherwise, it's showing a blank screen. Hence, I'm asking.
One second. I just need to come to. I can't open Zoom. That's the problem.
Okay, you can press escape, sir, and then click on the Zoom icon on your computer. Are you still? You stopped sharing the screen, right? You had stopped that, yeah.
No, I could not. I can't open that thing. That's the problem.
Okay. No problem, sir. You can.
Can you give me 1 second, and I'll
yeah.
tell you if you can give me 1 second. No?
Okay.
It never happened before.
So if you just press escape and then click on the Zoom icon below on your menu bar, it should come.
Start Zoom. No, there is certainly some problem. I'm so sorry.
No problem, sir.
Do you want Jeevan to start? So I'll just chip in here to give me a few seconds.
Okay.
I think let's go with the Jeevan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are pausing the part where Hardeep sir stopped at the fact that there will be distress sales, there will be new kinds of transactions, there will be refinancing and restructurings. And Hardeep sir will be back with us in maybe 5 minutes when he's able to reconfigure. Jeevan sir, over to you in the meanwhile.
Yeah, thank you, Abhida. So in terms of disputes practice, as I gave an overview right at the beginning, that the courts are not functioning normally. Only the urgent matters are being taken up. And various guidelines and office orders are being issued by the various high courts as to how to go about it in terms of video conference hearings. But what we see is that the matters which are not urgent, they are being deferred like till at least the courts function normally, or the normalcy resume and restored in the high court, in the courts level. So that is something which is serious. And that is obviously, in terms of the litigation, that is a matter of fact that it has gone down. So there is no denial of that fact. But having said that, the other aspects in terms of pre-litigation advisory, strategic aspects, those have become very critical. And we anticipate that once things resumes to normalcy, we'll have a variety of litigation, particularly surrounding the contractual disputes. Force majeure, as we have all seen, that there has been numerous articles, webinars, and discussions surrounding force majeure. The force majeure clauses, which were typically confined to the boilerplate clauses or standard clauses, lifted for most of the contracts. People did not spend enough time negotiating force majeure clauses because it was perceived or believed that it will never get triggered. So what's the point in wasting time negotiating it? However, that has changed significantly, and obviously it will change for the future as well, because every advisory that we come across, parties are considering, parties to the contract, they are considering how to invoke force majeure clauses, how to absolve themselves from liability, reduce economic obligations, and ultimately get out of contracts or suspend obligations as the nature of the contract may be. So a lot of advisory surrounding force majeure, of course, that has been keeping us busy as dispute lawyers. Secondly, of course, once in a while, when there is an urgent matter, whether it is bank guarantee encashment, that is also coming up because there is economic crunch, which is being faced by businesses across sectors. So that is another field, like encashment of letter of credit, bank guarantees, that is going to increase significantly. Of course, employment, as we all know, since it is having a serious impact on businesses across sectors. So therefore, employment at various levels, it has been impacted. We have been flooded with news with respect to the notifications and the circulars issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs. The state governments, they have come out with various notifications under the Disaster Management Act and the Epidemics Diseases Act, and how it is impacting employment. Now, there are constitutional issues which we apprehend that would come up, and some of the urgent matters are also being taken up at the Supreme Court level, as we see on a day-to-day basis, where employers are approaching the Supreme Court to cut wages and challenging the constitutional validity of powers enshrined under the Disaster Management Act, whether it extends to a private contract between an employer and an employee. So these are some form of disputes. Advisory, of course, that is another advisory surrounding employment matters, how to lay off, how to invoke provisions of retrenchment, whether a person qualifies as a workman within the meaning of Industrial Disputes Act, or a person is a white collar practitioner, white collar employee, and will be governed by the terms and conditions of the employment. These are broad queries which we have been addressing on a day-to-day basis, and saving for the long term, that has been the key so far as the businesses and clients are concerned. So therefore, in terms of practice, yes, the court practice, where we literally thrive in, that has gone down. The ecosystem, that has been seriously jeopardized. But having said that, we are getting used to adopting technology in dispensation of justice and getting court matters heard. And yes, this is broadly what disputes practice is going to be. in the near future.
Sir, I had a question.
Yes, please.
And which one participant has also asked, Akshay has asked us that what qualifies as an urgent matter. So
Yes.
that is one thing, and what is the criteria for it? And I also have a question that to what extent courts are right now functioning in a very very basic level
Yes.
when they are going online. So could you explain a little about that too?
Of course. Yes, that's very important. In fact, when we started with the first phase of the lockdown, I'll just give you the example of the Delhi High Court itself, which we have been closely tracking. So initially at the first phase of the lockdown, the Delhi High Court came up with circulars and the office orders which were published. Those defined urgent matters as extraordinarily urgent matters. For example, a bail matter, a demolition matter, an eviction matter, bank guarantee encashment. So these would essentially be qualifying as an urgent matter. However, as we have seen in the second phase of the lockdown, the High Court itself, through subsequent orders, has relaxed it a bit. And in fact, I would refer to a recent circular dated 26th of April of the Delhi High Court, wherein it was a welcome step, I would say, wherein various categories of cases.
1 second, sir. I have to stop screen sharing powers for people. Otherwise, they all start sharing their own screen.
Sure.
Guys, please stop sharing screen. You are sharing confidential data of others. Okay. Yes.
Sure. So I was referring to an office order of 26th of April, which we were closely following. So in that, in fact, the Delhi High Court has relaxed the earlier guidelines and has included matters which are ripe for final hearing, which included, amongst others, matrimonial matters, Section 9 and Section 34 matters under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, which are ripe for final hearing and pleadings are complete. An option was given in that circular itself that parties can approach, the counsels appearing for the parties can approach and file a joint application for consent listing. And if it is allowed, then it will be posted on a mutually convenient date for consent listing and hearing and disposal of the matter. Another important factor which I would like to highlight is that the guidelines specifically mentioned about submission of a 5-pager written submissions for the convenience of the honorable judge. And it was also emphasized that if it is found to be necessary and important so far as the honorable judge is concerned, it is only then a oral hearing may be permitted. So that way we can be very efficient in expeditiously disposing cases. And so therefore, as I was saying, coming back to the earlier point, is that they have relaxed the norms because obviously it can't happen that only extraordinarily urgent matters and the matters which are slightly less urgent cannot be taken up for hearing. So the courts are indeed taking steps in the right direction. And in fact, post 26th of April, in fact, there was a circular yesterday wherein a link has been shared by the Honorable Delhi High Court, wherein you are permitted to file non-urgent matters as well by uploading pleadings in that link. So it has come out yesterday evening itself, wherein you can upload non-urgent filings on that particular link. However, there is a catch to it in the sense that the scrutiny will be done once the lockdown is lifted. One more important aspect in this context would be that one of the circulars also mentioned that there were two-tier stages so far as the mentioning of urgent matters is concerned. So first you upload a 1-pager urgency slip or application before the joint registrar or the registrar who will be considering the urgency. If it is allowed, then you get SMS and you have to upload all your pleadings within 2 hours of receiving that SMS in a particular link shared in that email or the SMS. And then post that, a particular date will be assigned so far as the oral hearing before the honorable judge is concerned. So that is one way. And in the event your application for urgency has been rejected by the learned registrar or the joint registrar, there was another link which was provided wherein you can straight away upload that application and it will be considered by a single judge of the Honorable High Court. So these are some of the steps which the courts have been taking. And gradually, as we see, the norms are being relaxed and we are moving towards including non-urgent matters also within the domain of hearing. But again, having said that, as I mentioned at the very beginning, these are all at the High Court level. So that is not the end of the road because we have to deal with district courts, smaller towns, the tier 2, tier 3 cities. are
And
we up?
tribunals.
Yes. So, and tribunals, of course. So are they up for the for technologically being available for dispensing justice? With that, I would leave it to you.
Okay, great, sir. And what do you think are the challenges for the trial courts to a participant has asked? I don't know if we are in a position to answer, but sir, what is your take on it? What
No,
will the
I would.
challenges that they face be?
Thank you. In fact, I would again reiterate the point which I made at the beginning, that the Bar Council of India had written to the Chief Justice saying 90% of the judges and lawyers are not technologically advanced. For example, without undermining anybody, it requires a basic infrastructure, a basic technological facility. It is not just that one can access technology and just be ready for the hearing. There are other, like, for example, I need to have a appropriate app. I need to know how to use it, whether it is video conferencing, whether e-filing, whether scanning of a document. That is something we'll have to see for ourselves. Somebody who is a senior lawyer at the district court level may be a very trustworthy lawyer insofar as his clients are concerned. Now, will the client have the confidence to shift from a trusted advisor to somebody who is more technologically advanced merely because the senior lawyer is technologically not sound? So that is something which we have to factor in. The other day, I was listening to a webinar on virtual courts, and Honorable Judge of the Calcutta High Court, Justice Sanjeev Banerjee, made a very pertinent point on this aspect. In fact, he mentioned this very point, that it is not fair on the part of having utopian ideas and enforcing those utopian ideas without any planning or without factoring into practical considerations. So slowly but steadily, we'll have to adopt and embrace technology, no doubt about that. Having said that, we'll also have to factor in these aspects, and we'll have to come out with practical ways and means as to how to make justice available or accessible for those general common litigant.
And sir, in the trial courts, the issue of taking evidence online and cross-examination, all that becomes more challenging from appellate court work.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it is not, maybe at the High Court and the Supreme Court level, we may be able to easily adopt to some the best practices which are being followed and already practiced in Western countries, and the international arbitration, particularly the institutional ones, with excellent administrative facilities. But the same level of the excellence, it's difficult to expect at the district court level. One is the adaptability, both in terms of the bar and the bench. Apart from that, the technological issues, or for example, if we do not have, if there is a power cut or a power failure, which typically happens in a remote location at a district court level, then how do you deal with it? An efficient way of handling disputes by avoiding a travel from for a witness to come physically and depose in the court, you can save on costs and expenses and time. But having said that, when the person is unable to see the judge or able to depose for hours together, it may actually be counterproductive.
Right. Thank you, sir. So, sir, Hardeep sir is back. Should we resume from where sir had left off? Thank you, Jeevan sir.
Thanks.
See, I always used to believe that too much dependency on the technology is not good, because it failure in time, and that's what has happened here. Despite me being hooked on to Zoom calls now for over 2 months, it just all of a sudden disappeared, and I don't know what happened. But whatever. So I was talking about how a crisis bring opportunities, and how there are few opportunities which are getting ready or already in the pipeline, presenting itself for a corporate M&A lawyer like ourselves, which are practicing in the corporate law practice. Of course, the distressed sales I spoke about the financing of the existing debt here. There are a few more, the joint ventures and the restructuring businesses, which is all meant for corporate lawyers to always work upon. Then there are new sectors, new avenues which are coming up, which are already have come up and are coming up in more and more ways, which are on account of this lockdown or this pandemic that we are seeing to ourselves here. I was speaking about how digital, or the digital economy, which was growing in our country, growing in the world, we'll see far more growth here, and that far more growth will come in some avenues which were not these much used for digital. As an example, online education. So whether you're very well aware of this online education, which you have been yourself advocating for last several years, but even for using the online education platforms for the students for elementary education, this will become a new norm right now. Not just for students, even for learners who want to learn anything beyond basic elementary education, you will find online education platforms and online education companies to keep growing in the world here, including India. All the big universities in the world will have their online courses ready, and there'll be far more takers for this online education here. And for corporate lawyers, it means more work, more M&A, more transaction for online education platform here. Second, which we've seen in a little bit time, is how the digital entertainment companies had grown so much all over the world, starting from Netflix or Prime TV or Hotstar and many more, where they were valued far more than the conventional old media or entertainment companies. They will keep growing more. The subscription number that they have seen upsurge in during this 2.5 months here is unprecedented. They all saw 30, 40, 50% rise in the subscription and rise in the time people are spending on the channels just to fulfill their entertainment need there. They'll keep growing here. Third, the telecom company and the digital providers. All telecom companies, they are the one who's giving this service or the platform or the bandwidth here. Telecom companies will keep doing well, means they will be in business. They'll be keep buying and selling their businesses, keep doing work here. Fourth, we can't forget here, we are in pandemic. Anything which is connected to pharmaceutical will keep doing extremely well. You will find that this sector, this business will keep doing well here. You will have connected to to health here, anything which is connected to healthcare, starting from good food, starting from your sanitization or anything else which is connected to healthcare, that will keep doing very, very well in time to come here. Insurance is another sector which will just keep doing very well, not just insurance. So when I speak about one sector here, imagine the entire ecosystem which is there with that sector. So when one sector grows, the entire ecosystem grows. So as an example, if I'm saying insurance will grow, everything connected to insurance, starting from insurance agents, third-party administrators, all other, the distributors, the corporate distributors, they all will keep growing in the same fashion here. Last but not the least here, your digital banking. I mean, most of us are not going to bank anymore for your banking and financing need. Even that sector will keep going, and growing far and far better. So what we are seeing as corporate lawyer, obviously the mundane deals may go down, but our transactional work, our advisory work for these new sectors which will grow will continue here. Will keep continuing. Therefore, what we are seeing is upsurge in those deals in these sectors. In addition to that, what is keep growing is an advisory work, advisory on multifold. Today, I think other panelists who are from the dispute practice, they can speak more on this. But what's happening is that everybody wants to know an answer to force majeure. Will this force majeure protect them? Will this pandemic protect their failure to perform their obligations? Will this pandemic protect them from requirement to make payment to their lenders or to their vendors or to their people here? That question people are asking, starting from frustration of contract or a force majeure or their clauses. So what, as corporate lawyers, what we see, before a dispute reaches the court, dispute comes to the lawyers for seeking some sort of, I will not say mediation, but some sort of a commercial sense to it. Unless we put a commercial sense to a commercial dispute, it doesn't reach the court that easily. The dispute has to be really, it has to make a commercial sense for it to be fought in the courts or in the arbitrations. So that advisory work has reached the corporate lawyers as to how they can find a middle path to a dispute which is brewing between them and their vendor, their customers, their partners. So what we are saying is that, or what I must say to all my friends, younger friends here, who are either graduating this year or who have already graduated last year, I think that this world cannot survive without lawyers. I mean, we all are lawyers here, or we all are in this fraternity, but they all will need lawyer, and they will need lawyer more in this time. They need lawyer more even to handle their distress situations or to handle their opportunities that they are finding or their commercial or legal needs that they have during this time here. Of course, you will have, the need for law will continue. You may not have the same ability for clients to pay you the same fees, but you will always have far more work for lawyers to continue in this year. Now, having said that, I want other panelists to just speak for their bit as well. Then we can come back on the Q&A. But as far as corporate M&A practice is concerned, this is what we can see ourselves, what is coming. But again, if I go back to my first question that I asked, an answer to which will decide the fate of all these things is, when will this get over? We all are seeing gradually it's opening up, the way the world is moving. Or when we speak to our counterparts in Hong Kong or Singapore or some other countries, I think they have far more freedom than what we have, and they are they are operating far more than what we are doing. I think it'll happen in short term. We will find something far more better going than how's it going now, and therefore we will have this work continuing.
Thank you, sir. So now we will ask Mr. Deepak Kumar Thakur, sir, to share his inputs on how practice has evolved. What is he seeing now post lockdown?
Sure. It was good knowledge that was.
Sir, is it possible? Sorry, sir. Is it possible to raise your laptop a little? Maybe put it on a book or something.
Yes.
It'll just be easier to see.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that it was good to hear Mr. Puri and Jeevan, and quite.
I'm Hardeep Sachdeva.
I'm sorry. Oh, so I'm so sorry. I'm really so sorry.
Puri is that our honorable housing minister.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
We share the first.
Yeah, Mr. Sachdeva, sorry.
Yeah,
so I think it has been quite a good knowledge that has been given by Mr. Sachdeva and Jeevan. And yes, there are challenges, and as Mr. Sachdeva pointed out, that it will be quite dependent on when and how we open up. Definitely, lockdown situation in India has been much tighter and tougher than all other nations than that we have all around the world. But my personal belief is that we will not open up possibly like all other nations are opening up in a near future, especially the metropolitan cities where a lot of law firm businesses are conducted.
So I have a question on the practice, sir, in the meanwhile, before we go on to when the lockdown will end. But
Sure.
How has the infrastructure practice been impacted since this has happened? Because like you could talk about payments or the work that was coming in, disputes, whatever is happening in the deals.
Definitely.
What do you see as part of daily work? Yes, sir.
Definitely. So okay, in order to start up with the infrastructure practice, what all kind of contracts are there typically in the infrastructure practice that we have to first understand? First is that typical and rather the most common contract that is there in the infrastructure practice is the concession agreements, and the concession agreements are where the concessionaires are awarded the contracts by the concessioning authority to implement the project, operate and maintain it for a certain prescribed period of time, either on boot basis. They have then different models of the award of the concession, either on boot basis, BOT basis, DVFOT basis, or depending upon the model that is selected, the concessions are awarded. Then the other kind of contracts that are given in the infrastructure practice are your EPC contracts, which are for the construction of the projects, then your O&M contracts, then fuel supply, then fuel transport. So these are the typical and major contracts which are comprising in the infrastructure practice. How they are impacted? Definitely, since all the works in the current time has been shut down and no works are happening. So definitely contractual part, contract entering part has been stopped and they are substantially affected. But yes, advisory work has increased in relation to all these contracts, all these kind of contracts. Advisory mainly in relation to the kind of work that is arising out of force majeure. Where in a typical concession agreement, the force majeure is segregated in three different parts. And while in EPC and O&M contract, the force majeure are not as such segregated in 3 different parts, but just force majeure in itself. Depending upon which party we are advising, either it's the concessioning authority or the concessionaire under the concession agreement, we have to see whether the current scenario falls within any of the 3 segregations of the force majeure, and then we have to then advise accordingly. And in the same ways, if we are looking into EPC, O&M or other construction contracts, then we have to see whether which side we are representing, whether the force majeure is there as an excuse or not. And the present scenario is an excuse for non-performance or not. And if the force majeure is not an excuse that is getting covered there, then whether we can take a rescue under Section 56 of Contract Act for frustration. Each instance are having their different outcome and the consequences, and then they have to be dealt accordingly. In recent times, so we have been our main focus has been on advisory rather than on the contract drafting or the contract finalization, and then taking on, and then obviously, as Jeevan also pointed out, then it's keeping them prepared for the next step in terms of if any dispute arises, then what are the best possible ways to take precaution at this point of time. Next thing that we see is that definitely what we believe after this lockdown, since the economy has gone down pretty bad, in a bad shape, and the government has a bigger role in bringing the economy back to whatever position it can be. The government has to put in a lot of money and pump in a lot of money in the economy, and that can be done. One of the way that from our practice here that we see is that by having or implementing a lot of projects which have been on the back burner for quite a lot of time, like what we see that road projects and the construction for all those road projects have again started up, and then similarly, we have to see all the other infrastructure projects like airports, like ports projects, like metro projects, like other urban infrastructure projects can be started up, and government has a bigger role to play in that. And we are of the view that government will be definitely acting a big time in there, and the economy will revive to a certain extent due to the investment in the infrastructure sector.
Thank you, sir. Gaurav, would you like to add in something here from your end? You are muted again.
I'm so sorry. So I thought I have control for the mute, so I did.
I think so. You have. Yeah.
Mute myself. So I think there are couple of questions asked by people related to the infrastructure, and the first question was that infrastructure area, how project finance transition has been affected, in particular the financing document. I think that's one of the questions asked by Utkarsh. Mr. Thakur, would you like to comment on that? I think his mic.
I just mute. Yeah.
So sorry, Gaurav, your question, if I understand you correctly, is that project finance is different from project practice? Is that the question?
No, Utkarsh has asked that how financing documents are impacted at this time. So I think we mentioned the concession agreements and all, but he's saying that how the financing documents of a project finance document are impacted.
So I'm really sorry, Gaurav, you have to be a little loud. I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, I can answer that if that's okay.
So I can just say from the perspective. Oh, Mr. Sachdeva, sorry, you want to proceed?
No, go ahead. I thought
go ahead. No, I was just not able to understand the query. So what if financing documents are definitely impacted? If you're looking from the perspective that okay, financing documents, the impact of force majeure on financing documents, then definitely they are impacted. There are loan repayment schedules which are getting impacted, and RBI has come out with circulars to provide a moratorium period for this lockdown period, and And also the Supreme and a petition has also been filed in Supreme Court, which had come for hearing yesterday, and wherein a lot of requests have been made from the industry side that the loan installment repayment should be given break for this lockdown period. And no order has been passed by the Supreme Court, but notices have been issued to the banks and the RBI whether this period can be exempted from the loan repayment period. I'm not sure if I answered your query.
Utkarsh, you can say, and Hardeep sir can also give.
I just want to add something, I must say.
Yes, sir.
So guys, what's happening
Thank you, Deepak.
now, what's happening right now with the financial world is that almost all banks, all good big banks in India, they are flushed with funds for a variety of reasons. Everybody is saving money. The saving rate has gone up. So therefore, they have far more money in their deposits than what they used to have earlier. We have seen a huge turmoil in the debt fund market. Now, I don't know how many of you understand the debt mutual fund market, but the debt has really trembled. And because of that, some thousands and crores of rupees are withdrawn by investors from the debt mutual funds. And that money is now parked with the Indian banks in the form of fixed deposits. So the banks and the financial institutions which are holding the public deposits are right now flushed with money. And the banks too are looking for deploying this money in the most stable long-term projects. And one of the biggest beneficiary of this money is going to be the infrastructure projects, where the gestation is longer, the returns are far more secure, there are government contracting, government underwriting to the extent of project being taken off from the ground is there. You will find the money will keep chasing these infrastructure projects as well. Now, let me remind you one thing. When I spoke about those sunshine sectors, which will do very well during this time as well, I must remind all of you, I don't know how many of you have missed out reading the simple news of how much money Jio has collected in last 10 days. Jio, which is a subsidiary of Reliance Industries, which is into technology, which is supposed to be a technology company, technology starting from, their e-commerce or their telecom or their value-added services and many more. They have raised over 60,000 crore rupees. And the company is valued at 4.5 lakh crore rupees. I mean, these are mind-blowing numbers that we have in front of us. We are seeing a pandemic, seeing that countries are seeing recession, but we're seeing one company raised billions of dollars. Why? Because the businesses are not dead. They're just going through a turmoil. So everything which has a value, everything which can sustain it, will see money chasing it, will see deals chasing it. So same goes for infra project. If infra projects are in the form of anything which is road concessions, they will do very well. We'll keep doing very, very well. Now, what is the fate of airport concessions? Will the financing continue there as well? I think it will take some time. But yes, they too will get the financing back on feet, even for airport concessions.
So why would you, so I understand why airport concessions will take time, but why would roads get restarted faster or resume faster?
Yeah, so I must answer that. See, because right now, this whole travel industry is going through, as you know, is the worst of time. If this pandemic has affected someone the most in business, it is the travel, tourism and hospitality.
Right.
So what's happening is that the airport concessions are not the concessions where one is supposed to construct the airport from the ground. One is supposed to given an airport, keep running it, keep sustaining your expenses, and keep constructing either a new terminal or redo the existing terminal here. So the sustenance of the existing airport is very important for you to run with that concession here. As far as the road is concerned, you will find the road traffic picking up far before the airport traffic.
Okay.
Even right now, people are not even going on the roads, but they'll pick up far before the airport traffic here because of the obvious reasons. Because even if we are out of this, let's say this whole situation where we are right now in a lockdown, even if the lockdown opens, we will find that travel will start by road first, because there you can actually be safe within your car, within your bus, within your known people here, as opposed to be little not that safe, not that far from the unknown people at the airports or in the air travel. Therefore, what people are anticipating is all what people, time will tell what will happen, Abhyuday. But what people are seeing is that road travel will start and will pick up far quicker than the airport travel here. Road and train both, because there you can maintain your social and physical distancing far better than your airport travel. And therefore, road concessions will pick up far quicker than the airport concessions here.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Then there's another question from one of the advocate named Kiran. So I think that's a very simple question. He asked that whether the technology, the people who are not very well versed with the technology as a lawyer might get redundant at this stage. I just want to restructure it a little bit. So there are two arguments. One says that uh, the old lawyers, we have a lot of very senior lawyers who are not very well versed with the technology, and there is a point that a lot of people are saying that they will not be able to learn technology quickly, and that's the reason the market will open for new lawyers. The other argument against it is that the senior lawyers will learn the technology quickly, and with technology they will able to represent everywhere. So like in one office they can present in Madras, other one they can present in Bangalore, other one they can present in Delhi. So just wanted to understand all of your comment about it, that what do you think, which is a more prevailing aspect right now?
Gaurav, I must tell you one thing which we need to draw a distinction on. Knowing technology or knowing to use technology are two different things. We have a separate set of division or a department in our office at AZB where the lawyers know technology or the laws connected to technology very well. So that's one part of the law practice here. We have a law practice where people are saying how the technology is necessary, not necessary, what are the laws governing the technology, any part of technology, whether it's payment gateways or it's anything else which is being used right now, that law is being practiced separately. But knowing to use technology, I think that will not take much time for any lawyer to learn. But yeah, learning the technology law, practicing technology law, that will be a specialist field here. That will still be, I think that may continue to do very well. But I'm sure every lawyer can easily learn how to use technology. So all the senior counsels that you're mentioning about, they may not know technology, but they know how to use technology to practice the law. Yes, it's very easy, very, very easy in today's time. I mean, I can tell you at least for myself. So 15 years ago, to organize a video call, we had bought and invested. I'm sure, same will be the case of other co-panelists. Their firms would have invested the same amount of money, significant amount of money in infrastructure, buying those imported equipments, buying those televisions to do video calls in our office. We had dedicated areas of video calls. We had to call our IT guy to start doing video calls. But what does it take today to do a video call? Before I could learn, my children knew how to do video calls. How do they know video calls? They actually learned it through, I don't know, WhatsApp calls or Facebook call, this call, that call. So using technology will always become easier and easier in time to come. But learning technology, that I will not really, say much about. Somebody will really have to be savvy about, reading more about technology, practicing that law, practicing that field here.
So, Jeevan, sir, you can also choose to answer this question.
Yeah.
I'll just add on a little bit. So, one of our participant, Pranav, has mentioned that he just wanted to understand which litigation practice is currently more prevalent. It's a litigation, arbitration, mediation, dispute digitally. Which one is more prevalent right now? I think, Abhyuday, you have to unmute him.
I have unmuted Deepak.
Jeevan, sir, you're muted.
Jeevan, sir, I will unmute 1 second.
Jeevan, sir, you're on mute.
Thank you.
I have unmuted.
So, thank you, Gaurav. So to answer the question, I'll take the first question first. In fact, it's not actually correct that the senior lawyers are not technologically equipped. In fact, there are exceptions to that. In fact, I would just give you an example. I was doing an arbitration in Bombay, and we had briefed a senior counsel in the Bombay High Court, and he was leading us in the arbitration. In fact, you won't believe the matter had about 49 volumes of documents. We were for the claimant, and he had requested us to have the entire file scanned and shared with him on his iPad. So he argued, conducted cross-examination, final arguments, everything, even the discussions during conferences. He was fully equipped with highlights and marked. The iPad had all these documents at the click of a button, which me and my colleague, we were finding it difficult to get up to speed with that. So some of them, particularly, they are very advanced, and they have been arguing matters in the courts as well as in arbitration proceedings by using their iPad, and it has been working efficiently and like perfectly all right. Personally speaking, I have not come to that speed, and I prefer hard copies any day over the soft copies. Having said that, of course, with the change in time, I'm gradually I'm getting used to it. In terms of the second question, the most popular form of dispute resolution, of course, I personally believe, of course, to the prejudice of a disputes lawyer, amicable resolution of disputes, there is absolutely no substitute to that. So whatever said and done,
Fully agree.
absolutely there is no substitute. If it's only majority of the fights that you see in courts and in arbitration, it's all boils down to ego fights. And if parties sit across the table with their respective business teams and people who are at the helm of affairs, there is no reason why majority of such commercial disputes can't be settled. So amicable resolution, as I said, best form of dispute resolution. As a substitute, if it doesn't work out, then of course ADR is the way to go, as compared to the cumbersome and tardy procedures that we have in the courts, and particularly the post-lockdown era, when we are looking at a backlog of cases, the pending cases being mentioned, urgency applications moved. So we are not sure at what pace they will move. So it is definitely better, even if it means compromising on a few crores or few lakhs here and there, a few interest percentage here and there, but it's always advisable to pursue different alternate modes of dispute resolution. We all know the Chief Justice of India recently in February, while addressing a gathering on arbitration, globalization of arbitration, categorically mentioned that it's the time that we moved and we believed that ADR is not the second form of dispute resolution, rather it should attain primacy. So that is something which we should look up to. Justice Sikri, just before his retirement, passed a judgment sitting with Justice Abdul Nazir, saying that it is high time that we have an Indian Mediation Act. So these are non-binding forms of dispute resolution. But I personally feel that like it took several years for the judiciary to pass judgments after judgments and enforce the importance and reduce judicial interference in terms of arbitration. And now gradually, particularly after the 2015 amendment, we are seeing a gradual change and in acceptability of arbitration as a dispute resolution mechanism as compared to litigation. Similar thing has to follow for conciliation and mediation and negotiation, where it has to flow from the judiciary and directives have to be given, specifically mandating these forms of dispute resolution are a precondition before you knock the doors of the court. So again, I think we'll be addressing that question subsequently, if I may take it. There is a question about mandatory pre-mediation.
Yeah.
Mandatory pre-mediation under the Commercial Courts Act. Yes. So rightly put forth, Section 12A has been amended with that idea in the back of the mind, having mandatory mediation, because majority of the disputes can be possibly explored to be settled at the mediation stage itself, rather than rushing to the court with a civil suit, particularly in the commercial disputes segment. So having said that, it's a welcome step. It's a great move. But again, it has its own limitation because it comes out with an exception, which says that for urgent matters, you cannot, you can give a go-by to that procedure. So that way, possibly people can, just by filing an urgency application accompanying the plaint, they can bypass this provision. But having said that, in that event, possibly, just as in hypothetically speaking, the courts can step up. The courts can impose extraordinary costs, levy costs on the plaintiff if he has rushed to the court by filing a frivolous and vexatious urgency application, and can very well put the plaintiff to task. In fact, I was reading an article the other day, nice suggestion was made that Order 7 Rule 11 can be amended to an extent that in the event such a frivolous application has been filed and the mandatory requirement of Section 12A has not been complied with, in that event, that should be itself a ground for rejection of the plaint, and he should be redirected to the mediation level. So these are some of the steps which the judiciary can take, but it will take some time, but slowly but steadily, ADR is the way to go to reduce the overburdened courts.
Thank you, Jeevan.
Gaurav, I must compliment Jeevan here. I can tell you that only a very good litigation lawyer can advocate clients to go for settlement. So yeah, Jeevan, very well said. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Thakur, the next question is coming to you. One of our participants, Shubham Kumar, just wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on functioning of debt mutual funds and its impact on infrastructure projects.
So I have to say that debt transactions we don't do as a part of project practice.
Actually,
that's more of the banking practice thing.
Gaurav, Hardeep sir had said these things.
Hardeep
sir was saying that, and he had those were two different topics actually.
Yeah.
That's the point.
First of all, I think first of all there is no connection to the debt mutual fund with the infrastructure. Debt mutual funds are the mutual funds where they are collecting or seeking investment from various investors, from individual to corporates, for investing forward. And that investment by debt mutual fund is done by way of subscribing to corporate bonds issued by the companies or the government bonds issued by the government. So their investments are into the debt segment of companies and government here, as opposed to equity mutual fund, where the same mutual fund house will be investing into the equity shares of a corporate here. Is the end use of the money of the investor that defines a mutual fund to be a debt fund or an equity fund here. But that investment is not that is not a primary source of capital for the infrastructure sector in our country. That is not.
Yeah.
So Shubham, I can just, somebody wanted to add on.
Yeah, just to add on, as Mr. Sachdeva pointed out, these mutual funds financing are not so common for infrastructure project financing. The typical financing that happens in infrastructure is in the form of equity. Equity can be invested either in the form of pure equity or of equity investment, and then you have a typical project finance, which is completely different from your this mutual fund financing, as Mr. Sachdeva already pointed out. So they are quite different and not relevant for at least the financing of infrastructure projects.
Yeah. So what Hardeep sir was just saying is that if you've got a lot of money and you were earlier investing in corporate debt, corporate bonds through a mutual fund, now because you're not sure of how the market is, you're going to save that money up, pull it out, put it in fixed deposits. That's the one point he made. The second point he made.
Sorry, I must stop you.
Yes.
I did not make that point. People will take out. I'm not sure how many of you have read what happened to Franklin Templeton. Yes. Franklin Templeton, one of the largest mutual fund operator in the world, has shut down 6 debt fund schemes in the country. Shut down, closed down. They closed down because they could not find enough liquidity from their debt investment to pay for the redemptions sought by some of the investors. Even periodic redemptions, they could not handle. So they shut down schemes worth some 25,000 crore rupees of the amount invested into the debt schemes of the companies. They shut down. So it means they're holding on to 25,000 crore rupees of public money, which they invested into debt, which schemes are shut down. When they shut down, that created a turmoil. So I spoke about there is a turmoil that people may be aware of in the debt, mutual fund debt industry. I presume that we must be aware of what's happening with Franklin Templeton. That led to over 50,000 crore rupees of money being pulled out by the investors from various other mutual fund debt schemes. So people have pulled out money from other debt schemes of these mutual funds, not Franklin Templeton, because they anyway closed. Other schemes run by Aditya Birla, by HDFC, by Reliance, the new avatar now, whichever the other companies are. People have pulled out money from there and they had parked their money into the fixed deposits of banks because of the turmoil in the debt. So equities are seeing turmoil on the stock market. As you can see, the prices are going down of all the companies. The debt of the companies, which is supposed to be far more secure, even that is seeing a turmoil. And that turmoil led to money of the individuals and corporates being pulled out and kept in the bank, and therefore banks had enough money to lend.
Yeah.
And that money will be used for lending into the infrastructure sector to begin with.
Right. Thank you, sir. So we will move to the last part of the discussion, which is about hiring freezes and internship deferrals that a lot of law students have been seeing from the top law firms, and some of them who've got PPOs, they're like, okay, this has been deferred. They don't know what will happen to their internships. So I'd really ask each one of you to actually throw some light on this, that how this is going to proceed going forward, and what are the challenges on this front. What do law students need to do to be able to get these internships or to sort of start working at their PPO? Are there some special skills you're looking at? Can they prepare for it? They all understand that this is an extraordinary situation. At the same time, what do they need to additionally bring forth from their end? That's what I'd want to know from each of you, sir.
If I can speak first, I must say that, as that we all are working from home right now. And for some of us, which are large corporate law firms, it is something that we are seeing for the first time. I don't think the system here, or system means that system in our mind, or the way we use our interns, was geared up to use interns through working from home. We had never done that, therefore it's not done, and therefore internships are not done right now with the law firms or the large law firm practices here. Not that we don't need intern, we still need intern, but we don't know how to get them to work for us. See, for interns or for anybody who is becoming part of our system, one thing which is very important, and I can speak for my co-panelist, is extreme confidentiality for the client's work here. We cannot let that be leaked. We cannot let anybody else who has not signed up our non-disclosure agreements, not part of our system, to get access to our, the main drives. We have a disk where everything is saved, or the work is, coming from there. Now, allowing an intern who has not yet become a full-fledged lawyer, who has not be part of that, secure system, allowing him to be part of the system here to work from home while being part of the firm, for any corporate law firm, you need to do some changes there, which are yet to be done. And therefore, there are no internships done, largely not done during this time here. Now, in terms of what will happen post people, let's say, synchronizing themselves to this whole situation, yes, you will have internships coming back from all the law firms very immediately, where you can still hire intern and make him work from home, because I told you at the very beginning of this session that work from home is a new learning that all of us have got here. New learning, not in terms of that we were never knew of it, but we never knew the efficiency with which it can work. We just seen the efficiency, we seen how seamlessly work can be delivered. And I'm sure, therefore, internships also will come back very soon as far as this work from home is concerned, or getting connected to them digitally is concerned. In terms of the PPOs, obviously, we also made PPOs. We, of course, we are one of the, I can say, good friends with the Jindal School here. And we did hire people, but you have to understand, the students whom you hire, they will have to move themselves from their respective areas, cities, towns. They have to change cities, change towns, change homes. Nobody can do this at this point in time here. So the easiest, or what people have done, is to defer the start date of these new lawyers by 2 to 3 months, so that they also will get some time to adjust to what we're looking for. We also will get some time to find out where the new normal is. Now today, even if we start our office, or if anybody start his office here, as you know very well, only 1/3 of the capacity can work. You need to maintain distance of more than 6 feet between two people working together. You cannot have two people facing each other. I don't know how many of you have read about working in offices, guidelines given by Noida Authority or Gautam Budh Nagar Authority. You must read that. You cannot have any more two people facing each other while working. They have to face somewhere else. Now, it means you need to do a few changes, right, in your system, in your work. Now, you cannot have, while you are still, finding out the best way to make things work within what you have, you cannot have more people coming and finding how to make them also work here. And therefore, this breathing time is to make sure things have streamlined before you keep yourself and they keep themselves ready for you. But in terms of, as I told you, maybe I'm still very optimistic. unless this whole pandemic is now eating up half of the human species, which is possible. In that case, I don't know if we really talk to each other or not. If that is not happening, I think we'll come back on our feet very soon. And I told you that this world cannot survive without lawyers. You will have lawyers back in function, internships, back in demand, and PPOs and good lawyers always will remain in demand.
Mr. Sachdeva, I just have a follow-up question. If you can just add on to the response and other panelists also. So, understanding your point of view, what are your suggestions to the students very quickly to use this period? So, I understand that at least for next 2 months also, the social distancing and everything will be there. So, what are your suggestions to the student who are passing out, like 2020 graduating batch, and a student who are graduating next year, the 2021, 2022 batches?
See, I always say two things, very important. Two words which I have told to everybody who's connected to me. One is stay engaged. Keep yourself fully engaged. Engaged how? Keep reading more. Keep reading all the case laws. I can tell you history is being written for lawyers as we speak. History is being written. Unprecedented orders are passed by Supreme Court and High Courts today. We never heard of these things. I mean, maybe Jeeva can take us through some of these, judgments passed by Supreme Court, extending limitations out of nothing, suspending NCLT, IBCs in time to come, or passing orders restraining the foreclosure of the listed companies' shares. Never heard of these things. Or creating status quo ante by asking the banks not to declare a company as a NPA and just go back and change their internal systems. Must apprise themselves fully and fully remain engaged in reading all about these case laws, these notifications, and these circulars, and what's happening around the world here. Keeping yourself fully engaged is my first mantra. Second, stay connected. You will have to stay connected to your ecosystem. I think every student, every lawyer, anybody who is becoming a lawyer in this 2020, they all have their own peers, their own friends, their own seniors, their own family all over. Staying connected to them, to know what's happening with them in the industry, in the market, in their families is very important. These two things they should do, and this can keep their the days and days to come fully busy. And Jeeva, you must speak about what's happening in this, especially in this litigation world here, by online filing or some of the recent judgments. There are a few articles even I have written on AZB website. You have to see what's happening in this legal field about how government is expecting companies to keep paying full compensation, not to retrench anybody. Then there are these petitions filed in Supreme Court of India challenging the constitutional validity of these some of these notifications. How in at least as a corporate lawyer in a life, how for the first time we are seeing that the government is giving a circular that every investment which is coming from a land bordering company, a land bordering country, requires the government of India approval. I mean, these things are completely different from what we are used to of it. So you will never have your time left if you just simply keep track and keep yourself fully busy in what's happening in the legal world. There's enough happening right now.
Thank you, Hardeep sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thakur sir, your comment on this.
I just wanted one follow-up question with Hardeep sir. So Hardeep sir, for those people who have got internships, but right now they should wait for the lockdown to resume to stop and cease completely, or are there firms which are taking technological measures to have online internships in due course? Which way is this going to go?
Yeah,
is it both? Is it one of them? Is there anything on that, sir?
Yeah, see, this is frankly, we are ourselves trying to find some solution for this, but we are, we are seeing as to what we can do. I mean, especially from like us, or maybe for Deepak or Jeeva, they have large practices. They will also have some tens and tens, or interns coming every month and every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We need to find something from them. So I think we'll try and accommodate them by giving them alternative schedules. If they are still studying, we can offer them some other dates whenever it's convenient for them. And I think I'll request all the friends that I have across all universities to keep their students, give them some time to do these internships even at a later stage. Now, some universities are far more easy in that sense. They do allow kids to take off not to have the exams cast in stone on their heads. They allow them to do internship. I think there may be some sort of a we need to collaborative sort of effort to let every student of ours get their best sort of exposure for internship. I think it'll evolve. It'll evolve with the law schools and with the law colleges and with the law practices.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Gaurav, you wanted to ask something?
So
Jeevan, sir.
I just wanted to give this question to Mr. Thakur.
Deepak.
Yeah. Yes. So I agree with quite a few things that Mr. Sachdeva said, that we have confidentiality issue, and that's why there are certain issues with respect to the current internships that we are not able to offer. But at LNL, I think we have taken care of that concern, and we have rather a lot of interns there. Yes, we cannot give them a lot of transaction-related work, which requires the disclosure of the name of the parties or requires the disclosure of the transaction. But yes, we are giving them a lot of research work and related aspects, which can be done without compromising on the security or the confidentiality aspects. And we do have a lot of interns around with us. In fact, quite a few have been recommended by even LawSikho as well, that we have interns with us. So going with the internships, yes, we have challenges. We are quite concerned with the confidentiality issues. But at LNL, we had not discontinued, neither we are discontinuing the internships. We are continuing the internships with respect to work from home for them. And they are in fact proving to be quite a lot helpful to us as well. As regards the PPOs or the current placement offers that is already in place, I'm not aware if LNL has postponed any of these PPO offers. I think we are yet to take a decision on that.
Not yet, sir.
Yes, we have yet not taken any decision.
Panelists have at least general student in common for PPO offers and placement offer for 2020 batch.
Yes, that's correct. And in fact, see, what happens is also, I think one of the points that Mr. Sachdeva pointed out is that regarding relocation of students from different locations, I think that's one of the fair and very valid concern for all the law firms and places to hire anybody. While keeping that in mind, I'm not sure though, as I might be jumping the gun, but I think at LNL we are not going to postpone the PPO offers for the students who are from the same city at least.
Okay.
Like for Jindal, like we have people from Jindal and this year as well. And I'm sure that we will continue with their if they are staying in and around Delhi only or in the NCR region, then we might be continuing with their normal plan only.
Thank you.
For others, we have to yet to take a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Jeevan,
sir.
Your comments on same two questions, like
Yes.
what are internship plans, and if not, then what a student should do during this period?
Certainly. In fact, interesting perspectives by both my co-panelists. In fact, I can't agree with them more, but I just wanted to add few things. In terms of internship, yes, we continue to have interns and they have been working from home, and we are interacting with our respective interns who have been assigned to the respective teams. So that has been working, but of course, due to confidentiality, maybe we'll be giving them different research proposition rather than handing over the files on which they could work upon. So that is one aspect. Having said that, in terms of skill building, this is the right time. In fact, there are a lot of opportunities which possibly would not have been possible under normal circumstances. Just for example, the fact that we are meeting here with my co-panelists and so many of you, that itself would not have possibly happened unless one of us physically visited a college premises. So the fact that it's so easily accessible on a click of a button with hundreds of you all, so that itself is a great thing to have. Every day there are webinars where you can just log in, where retired judges, senior advocates, practitioners, lawyers from law firms, they are speaking on important topics. So this is the time for skill development and skill building. In fact, we ourselves are getting time to brush up on important aspects. And by attending webinars and discussions, interesting perspectives are being developed. Again, like on maybe, for example, force majeure in itself. The number of times we have gone through the relevant judgments like Satyabrata Ghosh or Energy Watchdog for giving opinions. Possibly we would not have done it either in law school time or even during the earlier part of the career. So this is the time, and it's not that. And the most important thing is it's easily accessible, just on a click of a button on your mobile or your laptop. So that is something which is going to give you enough and more experience. Secondly, a lot of certification courses are available that you can take it up. So that is another way of improving your skills. Writing articles on contemporary topics, interesting perspectives like the applicability of the disaster management in private contracts, employment contracts, force majeure, applicability on different situations like a lease deed. If there is a no force majeure clause, does Section 56 work? These are important topics which businesses are looking to for an answer. Of course, enough and more has already been written, but one can always find innovative ways of writing on contemporary topics and keeping oneself engaged. And most importantly, as Mr. Sachdeva also rightly mentioned, there is no substitute to reading. So this time has been God gifted to us, and I think we should make the most out of it. So that is engaging with experts. That is something which in a normal situation possibly would not have happened because of the normal schedule of the lawyers or the whatever the students being available and the person being able to physically go to the law school and giving a lecture. So that is something which is, you can have a webinar and invite retired judges or partners of law firms, and it's easy to access them and their views and thoughts on different perspectives. So that way it is a blessing in disguise, I would say. And in terms of internships, yes, virtual internships, there are limitations and challenges to it. Having said that, yes, as long as you are getting to work on important issues, for example, I'm some of my ex-interns who were assigned to our teams, they are constantly in touch with me. I take their help off and on important topics where I need urgent research, and they have been delivering quite well. So it's entirely depends upon the initiatives that a person is taking. So if one wants to relax and just say that this is a difficult situation, my internship has been cancelled, then there is no. So we'll have to look positive out of this difficult situation. And of course, there are ways and means to keep one's occupied and find positivity out of it. As regards the PPO aspects, again, as a firm, I think we have already made a public announcement, and that is already in the news, that it has been deferred temporarily. But having said that, we are honoring all our PPO offers. And in fact, those offers which were already rolled out earlier, they have already joined. Some of them continue to join. So in that respect,
they are working remotely, sir?
Yes, of course. So
like their technological integration is there for freshers who join in the firm.
That's correct. So in fact, the IT team has been configuring remotely, and they are having access to the their respective laptops and systems remotely, and they are configuring necessary softwares and whatever is required to be done. So that way, that is not an issue. There was one more question in the chat section which I would like to take up. In fact, that there appears to be a bias towards NLU students insofar as the law firms is concerned. That is always a interesting debate I always come across. Having passed out from HNLU, when I passed out in 2008, from my personal experience, I can share, we had to actually explain to people that Raipur is a location in Chhattisgarh, newly formed state, Chhattisgarh, which has been carved out of Madhya Pradesh, and we actually had to explain that Raipur is an existent place in the Indian map. And obviously it had its own disadvantages in terms of location. Gaurav would also agree with me on that. And being in the first batch, it has its own set of challenges. And as a first generation lawyer, I thought that it would indeed be a great challenge in terms of, even though we had an NLU name associated with it. But having said that, I personally, from my experience, I would tell you, in so far as my team is concerned, I have a variety of students in terms of both NLU and non-NLU students, and they are equally, like all of them are equally good. So there is no distinction. In fact, some of the interns which we have got from, in fact, one of my ex-team member was from JGLS, and I continue to engage with her, and she voluntarily chose to join in-house. But having said that, she was an asset to the firm and also to the team, of course. So that way it is not correct. And in fact, the firms, in fact, all the senior partners in the firm, they are all from non-NLUs. So it is not correct that there is a bias. Of course, NLU possibly may be giving you a foot at the door in terms of better planned internship structures or recruitment structures. But having said that, I personally feel that it's all individual temperament, which is the most important factor. A person who is from a non-NLU pass out, but is having the right temperament without having the foreign LLM degree, I would still choose him or her over somebody who is having all these shosha, but at the same time on merits possibly may not be as motivated as I would expect a person to be.
Thank you, Jeevan sir. Over to Abhyuday.
Okay, thank you, sir, for sharing your inputs. Thank you, all of you. I just wanted to share something with participants because everybody has talked about confidentiality, and some of the law students may think that, "Acha, I will sign an NDA and that will take care of confidentiality." But I just want to point out to them that, in a lawyer-client relationship, you have way more serious concerns. So it's not just about signing a document, but you need the technological system to protect any such leakage of data, even if you chose to leak confidentiality out after signing. So if the law firm has a system that prevents you from violating it after signing a confidentiality doc, then you can assume that you are safe and you can be ready to intern. Now that can happen more easily for associates who have once been in the firm, because the system has the software necessary, or sometimes the laptop itself is provided by the firm. But it's way more difficult for an intern because for 1 month you're remotely joining in, so they cannot give you software to take control of your computer, stop you from extracting data. And the concerns out of breach of confidentiality are enormous. I mean, apart from the ethical duty of lawyer-client privilege, there could be insider trading. So many things can happen. It is just unimaginable. So that is why this is a very, very serious concern. Now, if you want to go ahead and intern still, there are opportunities to intern with and work on knowledge management, research, help the firms in posting blogs, maintaining their own internal blog, maintaining the social media profiles. All of that is work you can still do, even if you cannot do transactional work. That is something you can look forward to doing. And on the NLU point, I think, so I just wanted to share something that in the past 1.5 months, we've been hiring a few people, lawyers in our internal team, and we've been regularly trying out graduates from NLUs, non-NLUs, and we've really not seen any difference. And we've seen that some of the non-NLU grads are way more driven and motivated to learn and more open to new experiences. Whereas we've seen, and I've seen that, okay, from a personal experience, that NLU grads have a very fixated mind on what they want to do, what they don't want to do, and therefore are not open to a lot of changes. So that is something for NLU students to keep in mind, that, practice is completely changing and we've got to be a lot more open to new kinds of experiences. Maybe we don't always become partner in 7 years and it may take 10 years, or maybe we want to try out something that actually inspires us. So a lot of these things will happen. And on that, I wanted to thank all the experts for sharing their inputs with us. And thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, all the participants. Thanks to JGLS also for collaborating with us on this. And any closing notes, Gaurav, for you?
So, Abhyuday, just to address that NLU question, because it's a very interesting part. So, I am from HNLU also. I'm immediate junior of Jeevan sir.
Yeah.
And, I'm working with Jindal right now. So, I have both, I taste of both NLU also and Jindal also. And so far, I'm working with the corporate relation department here. Never find any bias toward National Law School student or Jindal student so far. So I think market respect the talent. If you have that, you are good, you know your work. I think irrespective of XYZ college from a village also, I think people will prefer you over any National Law School or any Harvard Law School student. So I think that's not a bias. On this note, thank you, Jeevan sir, for joining us.
I just want to add, let's say, I want to add on this NLU part of it. I can speak for AZB. You can just look at the talent pool that we have here. We are certainly one of the largest in the country. If you look at the partners that we have inducted this year or year by year, we do not have any such preference to one law firm against the other. I mean, We never done that. I'm not aware of this 7 years anybody becoming partner before others. At least there has been no, all promotions, all compensation to everybody across the board is meritorious based. And I can tell you at equal level, we have equal compensation to everybody in equal promotions. We have never ever weighted somebody, one against the other. And I must speak about our own experience of hiring lawyers who are from different colleges, including Jindal. It's just fantastic. The quality of all of you, all the young students or all the youngsters, and what you bring on the table is just remarkable. And I must say that for all of you here, all youngsters are, they have their new ideas, different ideas. So we love that. We love anybody who is, who can really can deliver what we are expecting. And if that can be done, I think you're there, irrespective of which college, which school are you from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I will also add that, I will also like to add that I think that preconceived notion and which has been built obviously for while seeing something or while being said or hearing something from others. It's not correct that at least LNL has bias towards NLU. Yes, a lot of placements can be from in the first year can be from NLU, but at least I can say for myself and a lot of people around me that we are not from NLUs and we have been out of other colleges. And what matters ultimately is your talent and your effort to put in extra, your attitude to put in that extra effort that you can put in. And you have to prove yourself. Nobody else is going to prove you. Just because you're from NLU, nobody is going to give you extra marks if you are not smart enough to deliver. So you have to deliver and you have to prove yourself.
Absolutely. And guys, before we go off, I must tell all of you, please do not lose heart. Please do not lose your hope. We will all do very well in time to come, all of us. It's just a matter of time. This shall also pass, I can tell you. It's just not going to remain like this forever. Yes, we will have to fight it out. We should stay in, stay safe, do as much as we can while we are in, so that we should be ready when we are out. On that note, goodbye.
On that note, thank you so much, sir. We should thank you, Deepak sir, Jeevan sir, Abhyuday. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the participants for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And all the best
to
all
everyone.
the
Bye. Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much for having us. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.